What's up, guys? Sam here from the Timeline, and welcome back to another edition of our 2021 Free Agent Series. I'll start this one off by speaking in plain terms. Cody Zeller is sick of not making the playoffs. Or at least, that's what the message sounded like when he said this on Woj's pod last week.
In my mind, a team that's the top four in their conference is, they're playing for home court advantage. They aren't playing to make the playoffs. They're playing to have home court advantage, and then anything can happen once you get in the playoffs. In my mind, that's a winning team. And even, like I said, even if that means me playing 15, 20 minutes as a backup center on a team like that, that would be my ideal role in free agency.
Zeller is a starting caliber talent at the 5, but having played just 2 total playoff series in 8 years, he might be getting serious about winning. For fans of a select few teams, that could be very good news. So let's break down Zeller's game in a bit more detail. If you've been following along with the series, you know we've already covered a couple other fringe starting talents in Nerlens Noel and Daniel Tice. The main thing that's going to distinguish Zeller from them is his ability to soak up space, especially as a rebounder and a screener. Zeller is the best rebounder we'll cover in this series, averaging 11.7 boards per 36 minutes, 4.3 of those on the offensive end. Personally, I love Zeller's predilection for tip-ins, not wasting energy bringing the ball down first, but simply seeking out easy points where he can. And when you hear people talk about screening in the NBA, the assumption is often that harder is better. But bone-crushing screens, while insanely fun to watch, are not the be-all end-all in many instances, not even the primary purpose of setting a screen. Zeller is a big dude, and he is perfectly capable of setting tough screens that open up his guards for the pull-up 3 or the quick midi. But I also really got a kick out of him setting pretty much any screen in general, not just the most brutal ones. One example, look at where Zeller chooses to make contact on this screen with Jeremy Lamb. If Zeller simply wanted to stop Lamb dead in his tracks, he could very easily shift up one more foot and set what you consider to be the traditional screen. Front body embracing the contact, hands covering the privates. But instead, he's going to choose the hip as the point of contact, and this accomplishes 2 things. First, it's going to bump Lamb off just enough that he has no chance to get over that screen without significantly trailing the play. He might not be a totally crushed shell of a human, but he's nothing for the offense to worry about now. But for the other thing that this does, just look at the position that Zeller has put himself in. He is already, at the time of the screen, in rolling position without having to waste half a second spinning off the point of attack defender first. And what's the end result of that 2-on-1?
Defense, and Cody brings it down!
While we're at it, some appreciation for Zeller's attacking in general is in order. He's not going to blaze by you, but Zeller is a slow cooker. He knows how to drop the shoulder into you just right and maybe toss a spin move in there if he's feeling extra saucy. In lieu of an impressive throwback post-up game, this is the best way for modern bigs to embrace contact and work their way to the free throw line. Zeller gets there often for a big with his usage and sports a solid 73% career rate to boot. I also love the way that Zeller can get some hang time on these plays, especially as a guy who basically never catches any lobs. Given his overall profile, you could say that Zeller has no right to exist as some feared inside presence. Yet he has the audacity to try, and sometimes that alone is enough. Finally, on offense, Zeller is yet another talented passer. This is a pretty clear theme of mine as you explore almost all the guys I cover in this series, and there's a reason for that. Zeller's poise as a short roll playmaker to find cutters made it so much more difficult for teams to trap the Charlotte guards. Again, we see him comfortable putting the ball on the floor with some of those drives, opening up shots. You can even use him as an anchor point, having other players screen and cut their way to openings around him. On the other end of things, people will raise some questions. Zeller is not a good rim protector. He allowed 60% shooting within 6 feet of the rim this season and has done so consistently for years now. That is simply not where his value comes from. But he elegantly walks the line between mobility and strength enough to play valuable pick-and-roll defense, just in more subtle ways. Zeller, for instance, has shown flashes of switching onto guards on the perimeter for years now, and these are clips that won't be highly shared because they don't often lead to steals or blocks. Still, a stop is a stop. Obnoxiously, I could say something like, it's the little things with Zeller on defense. Although as long as we're diving headfirst into cliches, I might also remind you of what some say about availability being the best ability. Zeller has logged over 50 games just once in the past 4 seasons. Some of that, like breaking his hand on multiple occasions, sincerely seems like bad luck. But there have been other bouts of soreness in there that will make teams, at a minimum, do their due diligence on requesting and double-checking medical info. My last pet peeve, Zeller is trying to work some three-point shooting into his game, but man, over the past 3 seasons combined, Zeller has shot just 22% from distance on over 100 attempts, so rightfully defenses couldn't care less about his presence out there. On the one hand, I respect the attempt to add more wrinkles to his game, but we're approaching do or die time for Zeller's shooting. If I'm his next team, I'm going to give him the chance to showcase his shot and get it up to at least a passable 30%, but if he can't get there, and soon, it's time to give up the ghost and double down on rolls, slips, and steals instead. So to conclude, this is a good NBA player in the prime of his career. He'll rarely score 20, he'll rarely play lockdown defense, but he does basically everything at a passable level except maybe shoot. If I were signing Zeller to be my starting 5, I'd find it hard to be too excited. But if this is the beginning of a new chapter for him as a backup, that's a role that he could totally dominate for the next half decade or more. As always, drop a comment below to give me your thoughts on Zeller's fit and value, and please help me out by liking, sharing the video, and of course subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.